Good evening, friends. So I hope everybody is doing wonderful. We are headed out here to water the garden. It has been extremely hot. It doesn't even begin to explain how hot it's been around here lately. And I have been needing to water the garden, so I do try to get that done as early as possible to where I don't have to be out in the heat, because it's no fun out there right now. And we are definitely counting down the days for spring around. I mean, no, wrong season. For fall around here. Like, we are so ready. Yes, we are. But today we're just going to be sharing some homemaking motivation, mostly kitchen stuff, because the other footage I was trying to get, well, it wasn't in my favor. So I hope that you enjoy this video. I do want to say that today's video is in collaboration with my very sweet friend Bethany from Simply Bethany. I'm sure you watch her, or you've at least seen her in the comments, because she's amazing. She is a stay-at-home mama to some beautiful little toddlers. I think they're 2 and 3. But she is just such a sweet soul, and she does a lot of content similar to mine, homemaking, homesteading. I thought that she lived on a big piece of property. I mean, in my mind she did, but she lives in like I don't want to say trailer park, but it might be a trailer park. She lives in a very small plot of land anyways, but she makes it work, guys. She is amazing. She is a true testament to your space is what you make it. So if you enjoy my content, I'm sure you will enjoy hers. A lot of people tell me that my videos are very calming for them, which is a compliment, by the way. And Bethany is one of those people that I get to watch for calming content. So make sure you go over and check her out. Let her know that I sent you. But we're going to go ahead and just jump right in here. So if you can hear that fan in the background, I apologize, but I didn't want to move to turn it off. And it's a little warm, especially without the fan. But anyways, this morning I'm going to dehydrate some tomatoes. It was a success, by the way. I've seen a ton of people talk about this, and it's a good way to preserve them. So I figured we would give it a go. Now, this was a trial and error kind of thing. I was cutting them up, and then I was taking a spoon, which you see me right here doing, and kind of coring them, but it was taking forever. And I just decided just to use my fingers just to press in and get out some of the guts, so to speak. And it worked so much better than trying to core them with a spoon. Much more time efficient and whatnot. So that's what we're going to do. This alone was a tedious process anyways, because cutting all of these cherry tomatoes up and making sure that I got out as much of the guts, for lack of better words, it took a minute. So I didn't want to put these on the porch because I didn't know how long they would take. I wish I would have just put them on the porch, now thinking about it, because I don't like fly swarming my stuff, and this has the big air vents on the top of it, and that grosses me out, thinking that flies could be getting in there. But I could have put a piece of cheesecloth over top. You'll see later on that I do that with something else, but for these I just put them in the pantry and closed the door. It made it super hot in there, as well as kind of smelly. That's the word we're going to use. It smelled like really strong tomatoes, but even for somebody that loves tomatoes, it was a little funky. So I definitely was not a fan of that. Next time, if I do this again, I will definitely put them on the front porch or back porch and just put a piece of cheesecloth over the top, to where I have no worries of flies or anything getting into it, because it was hot and stinky-ish. Like, it was tomato, so it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great either as a tomato eater even. But you can imagine the family that doesn't like tomatoes. Yeah, they had a few things to say when they come out of the pantry every time. And it was 1,000,000,000 degrees in there, because we kept the door shut. And it kept the heat in there, so that is definitely a plus. But we're just filling this bad boy up with tomatoes. Everything I seen and read said that they need about 12 hours. Most of mine, well, I cooked them on high all day from like whatever time it was I made these. Maybe 11 at the latest. I'm sure it's earlier than that. All the way up until bedtime. When I went to bed at like 9, I turned it down to medium and then just let it cook all night long. So I expected the next morning to get up and then be super dry. They wasn't. A lot of them was, but not all of them was dried out. I think I ended up with, let's say, half, a little bit less than half of them that still needed some more dry time. It would have been less than half, because they would have shrunk up, but it took 2 trays, and I had to redo them again for about 8 hours or so, I guess. But they was a win. I have used them once, just barely in a recipe, So we'll see how they go. I'm going to hopefully use them again before tomato season is up, so I can see if I need to dehydrate some more like this. But yeah, here they are the next morning. The first day of making this video, I only made the tomatoes, and then everything else is the next day. But you can see that they are very crispy here, and the few that aren't, not few, there's some that isn't, I just cooked them again for a little bit longer.
Set out on the open road, same old place you always used to go when you were younger. We're speeding through a 50 zone like your dad before you didn't even notice. The old man with the silver hair sitting in his rocking chair. Soon you'll be there.
And I decided, spur of the moment, last minute or whatever, to throw together some ham salad. We had some ham chunks from our potato skillet the week before. I didn't want them to go bad anyways, and I had no plans of making the poor man potatoes this week because it was hot and I didn't want to cook in the house any if I didn't have to. And I could have took the electric skillet outside or just cooked in with it really quickly, but I was trying to do as little as possible with heating up the house. If you've been around for a while, you know that our air went out in June and they still have not got the parts. Well, they've got one of them. One of them is on back order and they still haven't got the part to fix it. So, yeah, train is being fun to deal with. But I was trying to do as little as possible to heat up the house this week, including I even turned off my wax warmers, which I'm not a fan of, but you do what you got to do. But I wanted to make some ham salad and just have in the refrigerator for me to eat as just a snack. Nobody else in the family will eat it, but that means more for me. So I just used the food processor here and added some peppers and the ham to it and chunked it up. And then I added some Miracle Whip, mayonnaise, seasonings of choice, and just a pinch of apple cider vinegar. And it was pretty good. It needed a little bit of sweetness, in my opinion, just because I like stuff a little sweet, but I didn't care enough to add any, so I just ate it as this. But it was pretty good and just an easy way to use up that ham so it didn't go bad.
Although it's easy to remember, it's as easy to forget that it leaves you feeling down and filled with some regrets. All this trick of the memory, we'll call them good old days. Although sweet in the moment, it's poison for you. Listening to the same old tune as you heard before, you even knew the language. With every line it brought you back to where the summer never ended. Although it's easy to remember, it's as easy to forget that it leaves you feeling down and filled with some regrets. All this trick of the memory, we call them good old days. Although sweet in the moment, it's poison for you. It's poison for you.
And since I'd already had the dehydrator out, this is after I finished up the last of the tomatoes that hadn't dried completely. I thought, I'm going to preserve these apples. Our apple tree, which we're getting rid of because it's not worth having it. We put fruit trees in, I guess it was the year after we moved here, maybe 2 years. I'm pretty sure it was like exactly the year after we moved here though. and they have not produced well the entire time, and we have given them plenty of time. Last year the plum tree did decent. This year we had one apple tree that produced like 10 apples, I guess. So we're getting rid of those. However, me and John went out and picked the apples on Saturday, and he wanted to make sure that I used the apples and they didn't just get wasted, and people wasn't really eating them. We go through phases. We're not really apple people unless we are, if that makes sense. We currently are not apple people, but I have been watching little like documentaries on Amish and Mennonite communities because I'm just the kind of person I am. I love stuff like that to an extent. Like, I would enjoy creating my own community where I have my own rules and I can still do things like get on YouTube and use technology and whatnot, but still implement some of their lifestyle. Anyways, I'm very intrigued by their community. I've been watching quite a few shows lately, and some of those shows that I've been watching mention their dried apples. They make pies and hand pies and cakes and whatever, and they use their homemade dried apples. And I was like, okay, I'm going to make some homemade dried apples. So that's what I did. And then we ate some of them. They're really good, by the way. But I think I'm going to make some hand pies with the rest because we have about a pint of them. No, we had a pint and we ate about a third of that. We've got some anyways. I think I'm going to make some hand pies, and then I also want to try to make some caramel apple cookies with them because that sounds delicious, using that dulce de leche, or however you say it, that I made a couple of videos back. I think that would be delicious. We have a cool week coming our way, so that's definitely on the plans for next week. However, I wanted to get the apples dried and put away so that the apples didn't go bad, so I figured we already had the dehydrator out. We're just going to go ahead and use it and make those apples. So that's what we're doing. Most of these did come from our apple tree in the back. You'll be like, that's not 10 apples. That's because we have eaten a few of them here and there. But the big apples, I think I show one, but then I end up going back and cutting up the last one that we have because, again, I didn't want it to go bad. The big apples are store-bought apples that we've had for ages. Just nobody wanted to eat them, but they were still good. And then the littler ones are the ones that we grew. So I'm just cutting them up into fairly thin pieces, but not like overly thin. But these I did put on the front porch and just covered the little vent space with some cheesecloth just to help ease my mind that no bugs got in here and was like dancing around on my apples, because that's nasty, y'all. Okay, so I have been feeling very sorry for John having to work in this crazy hot heat because he has been out there every single day working, and he has not once complained, and he did not complain once all week, which he prefers the heat. But even so, this is crazy heat. Nobody prefers it being this hot, and I'm so thankful for him and everything that he does for our family. Y'all know this if you've been around here. But I was just very grateful and whatever the word is I'm looking for here. I felt bad that he had to be out in this heat, so I was like, you know what, I'm going to make him a special cold dessert. So that's what I did. I ended up just using half of the cake because I wasn't sure how good it was going to turn out. Spoiler alert, it was absolutely delicious. Definitely top 4 of the poke cakes I've ever made. Maybe top 3, maybe top 2. But I was just throwing stuff together, but now if I had to call it anything, I would call it a Buckeye poke cake because that is very similar to what it tasted like, and it's what it reminded me of. I wanted to make just a small one and use my little 8x8 pan because, like I said, I wasn't sure how good it would be. I wasn't sure how many people would eat it, and I didn't want to waste it when I could do 2 different variations, because I also couldn't decide if I wanted to do this or like a cherry cobbler or like cherry poke cake or something along those lines. So, cherry chocolate is what I meant to say. We have the other half that we can still make with that, and I'll probably do that. I might do that later, actually. But anyways, this was just half of that cake mix. It's not science. I mean, technically it is because it's baking, but I just laid it out, eyeballed it, cut it in half, put half of it into a Ziploc bag, and just added it back to the box. And then, for the half that I did use, I just added half the ingredients it asked for. It said 3 eggs, so I just used 1 large egg and 1 small egg that I had. That's close enough to 1.5 eggs in my opinion. Especially the veiny eggs, you take 2 of those to each normal egg, so you know it technically was 1.5 eggs. Just baked it according to the directions. Obviously it's not going to need as long to bake because it's like half a cake. I baked it on the back porch in the little toaster oven because, like I said, we was not heating up the house more than we had to this week. It was delicious, in case I haven't said that. We're just going to bake it till it's done. I share the whole process, but bake it until it's done, and then we're going to poke holes in it. We'll top it with some chocolate pudding and it was a cup of melted peanut butter, and then like a third of a container of melted and applied chocolate icing. Y'all, it was delicious. The whole family enjoyed it, and that says a lot because Wendy's not really a huge fan of peanut butter. So it was really good. There's no recipe. I just told you the recipe. But it's delicious. You definitely need to try it if you love chocolate and peanut butter, especially together like I do. And it had been a hot minute since I washed my couch, so I decided I was going to do just like a little hack thing that I'd seen where you use a rag or whatever. However, I thought it was a good opportunity to deep clean it here and put it out on the porch and let it dry quicker because it's like a billion degrees. I figured it would dry quick outside. So that is what we're going to do. As soon as we get these dogs off the couch, these two are like best buds. Clovis has a lot of energy. She is an Aussie, so Australian Shepherd, so she has a lot of energy. Plus, she's a puppy. Our other dogs are older, like Paisley here. Her buddy is 4, so they don't have the energy to keep up with her as much as she wishes they did, but they try. But she does get a little bit annoying to them sometimes. But they wouldn't get off the couch, even with spraying stuff. As you can see, it's pretty dirty, especially after I sprayed the stuff on it. The dirty spots that was on there, it like magnified them. It's fine. We're getting it cleaned off. However, I don't get to share the process with you because my battery died and I hadn't charged any batteries. Well, I thought I had one on charge. Ended up it must not have been connected. I don't know. Maybe the battery just doesn't work anymore because I still can't get it to charge. Anyways, I still have some more. I didn't have the time or energy to set up my phone to get any footage, so here you go. The completely cleaned cushions sitting on the couch. No, sitting on the porch with a fan toward them. This is my embarrassing under the couch. I have not pulled these bad boys off in a very long time. I hate to admit how long it is. So honestly, this probably looks good for how long it's been, but it still looks pretty bad. Also didn't get to get much footage because, well, one, I was lazy and didn't want to find the parts, and this was a very busy day. We had people in and out all day long, so it is what it is. Real life that I don't get to much share, but y'all understand, I hope. Anyways, sharing a little bit of this embarrassment with you. We get it all nice and clean after I put down my phone because this is phone footage. Now we're back to the cake. I'm getting the hose poked in it here. And then I will add in the vanilla pudding. I made it as instructed, goodness gracious, on the box. Now, if you're going to make the big one, if you're making this for a family get-together or whatever, I definitely suggest making the big one because it was definitely delicious. You might want to add less pudding, or you might just want to double it up. Not less pudding. Yeah, it would be thinner pudding on a bigger cake. I would say do 2 little boxes of pudding or one of the big ones because I liked how thick the pudding was. It added moisture to the cake and it made it good, y'all. And it helped it be extra cold too with it being the liquid in the cake, if that makes any sense. So I'm just making it according to the box instructions minus just a smidge. I think it called for 2 cups of milk. I added about 1 3/4 maybe. You could add the 2 and it'd still be perfectly fine. Anyways, We're just going to get it mixed up and then get it on top of the cake. And I did try to make sure I pressed it down into some of the holes. I even picked up the pan and, you know, smacked it on the countertop a few times, trying to make sure that the pudding got into the crevices. It did. But we done that, and then after I let that sit up some, I added, or did I just go straight in? I think I just went straight in with the peanut butter, but I did let the peanut butter sit up completely and, you know, get back to a solid form before we added the chocolate icing. If you like peanut butter and you like chocolate, please make this, because it will not disappoint you. I'm not a huge fan of chocolate pudding like this, like out of the box. The pre-made stuff, I love that, but this I'm not a fan of. However, when it mixes together with the cake and the peanut butter, it's delicious. I almost promise you that. Like, I can't promise because I don't know your taste buds, but I promise my taste buds really enjoyed it. I was a little bit worried because I only had like 1/3 of a can of this icing. However, when it melted, it ended up being, might as well say, the perfect amount. It topped it nicely. It wasn't too overbearing. It was really good. So if you do a whole one, maybe do about half the container, or you could do all of it if you want a really thick topping on top. However, to me, this ended up being the perfect amount. It wasn't overbearing, but it definitely added to it and made it just a little bit better. And this is how the apples came out. They came out perfect, and I'm excited to use those in the recipes. I might share the cookies next week. We'll see, but that is going to be it for this video. Make sure you go over and check out Bethany. We appreciate y'all, and thanks for watching. As always, remember to show grace, be content, and live blessed. Bye, friends.